Today we're going to talk about something that I think a lot of people think about, and that is long-term care costs. They're getting older, and so they feel like it's on the horizon for maybe themselves, or they've now had to deal with their parents in long-term care, and they've really realized how expensive it is. So in Georgia, nursing homes can be up to $10,000 a month, if not more. If it's a memory care unit, it can be even more. So this is not a cheap place to live, we'll put it that way. So a lot of people are like, I want to make sure that I still have assets left over to pass to my kids, even if I'm in long-term care. A lot of the times, number one, I remind people, look, this is your money. You've worked really hard for this money. The main goal of this money is to support you for the rest of your life and make sure that you are taken care of and living comfortable. And then if there is any money left over for your kids, great, cherry on top for them. But I always tell everybody, I'm like, don't count your eggs before they hatch. You got to make sure that your kids know that if they get an inheritance, great. But if not, you've been taken care of. This is your money. You've worked for it for you to live comfortably. So I like to preface this conversation by saying that, because a lot of people get so caught up in, oh, I've got to leave a legacy. Oh, I've got to leave this money to my children. Your legacy is that hopefully your children are self-sufficient and can make their own money. But that being said, absolutely, ideally, there will be money left over for your kids. So what are some ways that we can ensure that some of your legacy is left over to go to your kids, even if you do end up with dementia or Alzheimer's and in that memory care unit for a long time? So there's a couple ways that we can look at this. Ideally, we're having this conversation when you're more like 40s or 50s or young 60s, because then we've got a lot more options and a lot more flexibility. So for example, long-term care insurance is a great way to protect against long-term care costs. So if you are younger and you are healthy, you can potentially get a whole life insurance policy with a long-term care rider or some type of hybrid policy. These are slightly newer policies. Now, I'm not an insurance agent, so you would definitely want to work with an insurance agent, preferably who's a broker and can get quotes from lots of different companies versus just someone who's an agent for one company. That's probably not going to be the best way to get the best rate for this. But this is a great way to not use it or lose it. So a lot of the old school insurance policies were more like car insurance. You pay it regardless, and then if you need it, it's there, and then they raise your rates and you're not insurable anymore. So great, doesn't even work well anyhow. Or if you don't use it, then you've just wasted your money on this car insurance for years and years. So hopefully you don't ever need it. Now, that's the way that long-term care used to be. It used to be a use it or lose it, where you pay into it, and if you need it, it's there, and they'll pay usually a percentage of your fees. But if you don't need it, then it's just goes away, and that's money your family will never recuperate anyway. But now these newer insurance policies are actually whole life policies. So you can get a whole life policy with a long-term care rider so that if you need the money for long-term care, it comes out of that principal. But then after you pass away, whatever's left over, if any, will go on to your kids. So it's not a lose it or use it. And so that's a really good way to protect against long-term care costs. And however, you do have to shift your focus or like the way you think a little bit for this, because it's going to be expensive. Whole life insurance is expensive regardless, but especially with this long-term care rider, it's going to be a little expensive. And so usually what we like to do is we think of this as an investment. I'm not a financial advisor, so you would definitely want to work with your financial advisor on this, but you do have to think of it as an investment. Maybe there's just an investment account that pays for this indefinitely, or you just think of the insurance as a different type of investment for down the road, because it is really handy for paying those long-term care costs. Now, a lot of my clients come in and they're in their mid to late 60s or early 70s, and they're like, I'm really worried about long-term care costs. And I'm like, you're a little late to the game, but maybe there's some options there as well. So within estate planning, there's actually a separate area of law called elder law. They're different. Estate planning, we're really just focused on making sure your assets are protected after you pass away. Long-term care, as elder law, we're more focused on protecting your assets even before you pass away. So at Arch Legacy, we have an attorney, Allie, who actually specializes in elder law because, again, it is basically a different area of law. So you want to work with someone that actually specializes in this because within elder law, there's something called a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. And Medicaid Asset Protection Trusts can be super helpful tools, but they could also be completely useless. And a lot of attorneys will upsell you a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, even if it really actually never works to help you or your family or protect this money because you're never going to qualify for Medicaid. So the whole purpose of a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is to basically take the assets out of your name, separate them from your estate so that if you go into long-term care, Medicaid kicks in and pays for those long-term care costs. So Medicare pays for the medical, Medicaid pays for the actual living expenses. This sounds great on paper, but there's a couple of little things that we need to discuss as to whether or not this makes sense for you. So number one is if you have a certain threshold of income, you're probably never going to qualify for Medicaid. So it probably doesn't make sense for you. Some people, I look at their estate and I'm like, sir, ma'am, you are self-insured. Your estate is going to cover your cost. Whatever's left over will go to your kids. You don't really need to consider this. Number two, we all know what Medicaid looks like. Medicaid pays money for sure, but it's not going to pay you bukus of money. It's not going to put you in the cushiest facility or the nicest nursing home. So if that's something that you would like, that I feel like most people do, then maybe a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust doesn't necessarily make the most sense for you. Now, when it does make sense is for people that maybe they're worried about asset protection. A Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is an irrevocable trust, meaning that once you put your money into this trust, you have officially given your money away. It is no longer your money. So this is only going to work if you have someone that you really trust to name as trustee. Because if you get in an argument with your kid and you've named your kid as trustee, they can be like, nope, you're not taking that trip. I'm not giving you the money for that. I'm not paying for that trip out of this money. So it's really important that, again, you are only creating this knowing that, number one, you're giving your money away, and number two, you actually have someone that you 100% trust to be the trustee of this trust. How many times can I say trust? And that they're not going to get in a fight with you and decide to lock down your money. A lot of people aren't comfortable with that idea. Medicaid Asset Protection Trust might not be the best fit for them. The other thing to know about a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is that there is a 5-year look-back period. So we do have to move your assets into it at least 5 years in advance, or it's not going to work until 5 years down the road. So sometimes people have to pay cost out of pocket for a couple of years before that 5-year look back sets in. But if you get it set up in advance or quickly enough, then it works really well. It's very case specific. Long-term care is definitely something that you need to think about because as we live longer, it is very important that we realize how much it costs and that it is very expensive and that we do maybe need to do something to protect ourselves against it. But whether a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust actually works for you, it's just going to be very case specific and what your goals are. So I really recommend meeting with someone that specializes in elder law, not just estate planning. At my firm, that's Allie. She's amazing, and she'd be happy to talk to you if that's something that has been on your mind.